Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia, and I have a really fun show tonight. I got a couple of weeks ago. I had Gary and Chris from Big Bang Comics on, and now I've got their writer, one of their writers, and social media manager. We're going to talk about their books. I'm going to bring them on in just a second, but if you guys are new to watching, just please subscribe to the YouTube or the Twitch or Facebook, wherever you're watching. But got a lot of cool stuff coming up. But before I talk about any of the other cool stuff, I'll save that for the end of the show. I want to bring on the writer of Big Bang Comics and the social media manager. Let me make sure I got this name correct. Pedro Angosto.
Hello.
Thank you.
Very well.
I said it correctly.
Yeah, and let me say that for my horrible English, I only use it to argue continuity with Barry Carson, And I had learned it all from comic books, from reading comic books. So I just know how to say it's clover in time and the power cosmic and all that shit.
Well, all the good stuff, all the important stuff. So I put the oops, I think I added an extra S to your name at the end there, right? There's no extra S. It ends in an O. Let me fix that.
Pedro,
I do. No, in the
the final S.
Yeah, there's no S there.
I'm so big that I'm more than one Angosto.
No worries. So, first off, thank you for coming on. I've been chatting with you. I'll tell everybody the story really quickly. I've been a fan of Big Bang. If you guys watched the show a few weeks ago when I had Gary and Chris on, and if you haven't, after the show, please go back and watch it. You'll really enjoy it. It was a lot of fun for a long time, and I've been wanting to talk to them, but I'll be honest, I didn't remember the names of the people who were the people behind the comics. So I follow Big Bang Comics on Instagram, and I wrote and said, "Hey, would you like to come on the show?" And Pedro answered me and said, "No, you got to talk to Gary and Chris." So I connected with them, and I think I was already connected with them on Facebook, just because everyone connects with each other who's kind of in the industry and whatnot. And I wrote them and I said, "Hey, you guys want to come on and do the show?" And then I said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay." And I've been, when I found out you were a writer, I'm like, I'd love to talk to you because you also write and expand their universe. And I'm like, that would be really cool. So let's get you on. And so I found out a date that worked well for both of us, and that was tonight. So I am thrilled to have you here. Thrilled to be chatting with you.
And thank you very much for having Gary and Chris. That I have loved their comics since I discovered, and they were one of the very first to give me the chance to work in American comics. That has always been my dream, even if it was really impossible and I didn't know,
Yeah.
But going back now is really being a dream, and I lie to myself and think I'm a wizard top 10 writer, I'm at Marvel or DC.
So before we get into your work for Big Bang, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What kind of comics you grew up reading, or if you didn't read them until later on, like what were some of your favorite comics, and what were some of who were your inspirations to get you writing?
Well, I'm a guy who had read a lot of comics, and very little else, really. Naming every comic I have read, too many for my own good, really. But I started when I was like 12 years old. The Marvel comics started being published here in Spain by a new publisher, Comics Forum. And I got the first issues of Spider-Man that were not the original Amazing Spider-Man 1, but around the John Romita and Roger Stern run, We were very lucky because that publisher, even if it was already the 80s, brought back some of the stuff from the even mid 70s or so, no? So we got that very great moment of American comics, bronze age of superhero comic books,
Yeah.
And first I started with Marvels, and very quickly there was another publisher that started publishing here the DC stuff. They already have New Teen Titans, and then after Crisis, they wrote a lot of series, Watchmen, Dark Knight, etc. No, and I collect them all really, and if I don't have it, I read from some friends or something.
Yeah.
And well, I don't know how it came me becoming a writer. I don't know. I started working with doing role playing. Lord of the Rings role plays. I start making the story of the characters. We were a group like a superhero group. And then even when I was a teenager, I started to do a fanzine about American comic book news. It was called Secret Crisis for Secret Wars and Crisis on Infinite Earths. And then when I was in university, I studied in Granada, and then I met with more comic book fans. There was a comic book shop already there for us to meet, and we did a new fanzine that was called Bronze already, for the Bronze Age.
Well, I'm gonna give you the screen for a second because I want to see that comic closer.
Yeah, well.
Wow, very nice.
Yeah.
Nice cover.
This was done by Jorge Santamaria, the artist in the WHIZ KIDS, last WHIZ KIDS story. Okay. And it was already a George Perez remake, starring the then teen superheroes of Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
Among others, Image.
Oh. Yeah, no, sorry. I hit the button.
So I started working with artists, and really then Comics Forum started a new imprint, publishing for the first time the works of many new artists and writers who had grew with reading all those Marvel and DC comics.
Yeah.
And many of those artists soon started to go into the American comic book market. First, Carlos Pacheco, Pascual Ferry, Salvador La Roca to Marvel UK, and when that closed, they made a leap to American comic books. And silly of me, I really thought that the very same time, in the same way they were hiding all available talent and some that were not so talented, really. The same will happen with writers,
Yeah.
And well, many years later, it seemed that American market is not really interested with people who have that horrible English that even if I write a little bit better, and then Gary is so kind to edit it.
Well, I was gonna ask you, because I was gonna say, obviously English isn't your first language.
Yeah.
So how is it writing for an American audience when you don't have when it's not your native language, or writing or reading? You probably don't even think in English half the time, right?
Well, really, it's not that difficult. I was in 2000. I was for a year in London working in a hotel, but they put me to work with 14 Yugoslavian waiters. So I didn't improve my English that much there. But I've been reading American comic books in my 25 years ago, every month after until 7 or so years ago, where I had to stop because it didn't. appealed to me the way they did before, you know.
Yeah.
But all my English really comes from there and meeting some American friends and chatting and the stuff.
Yeah. Before we get into the stuff, and you've been talking about superheroes, but I'm actually a fan of European comics. I actually look for more European comics in English so I can actually read them. I do have some in Italian, some in Spanish from like when my family has been overseas and they brought some comics home for me. I just look at the pictures. But was it always superheroes for you? Because a lot of my influences like that Franco-Belgian, you know, Peo and, you know, those type of comics. You know, if I look.
Yeah. Now back.
Yeah.
You were asking, sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you miss some of what I was saying?
Yeah, you were frozen for a second. You said
okay,
you read superheroes?
I was saying, was there something other than superheroes? Like, did you read any of the other comics? You know, like I grew up on Lucky Luke and Asterix.
Yeah, well, I read many of those in the public library of my town, you know, Tintin, Lucky Luke, Isnogur, and many others, you know.
Okay.
And before that, I have read a lot of Spanish comic books that were like the Spanish Archie comics, let's say that, with many different characters.
Oh, you're frozen for a moment.
And stuff like that.
Okay, you froze for a moment, but it's okay.
Then I started collecting also Disney comics, Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and all that the ones that were made in Italy, really.
Yeah, I got a few of those myself.
I still keep them, you know, like 150 of them. The Spanish one were stolen once, but it's a pity because I really would love to go over there. But I didn't get, you know, for my generation, we started in superheroes. And there were so many of them that we didn't have money nor time, you know, to read many. Once I was in Granada, I met other comic book fans and started reading this and that. But I cannot say that I have had, sadly, time for many good European or Spanish books. Yeah. Right now, as I'm not reading superheroes anymore, I am much more attentive to European market and even some manga. Even if for me, when manga came, it was like too late. You know, I watched Dragon Ball, the the series, you know, back in the day. But even if I knew the song and everything, you know, I didn't get into it. It was too late for me. Like with video games, you know, I started playing one or two Monkey Island, but never go beyond that.
I know.
It's an amazing world, but as you would know, people who like things, you know, have to end choosing some of them because there are too many to enjoy, too many series, too many books, too many.
It's hard, especially with the manga, because manga, you know, it's meant to be read in like an hour or two, and then move on to the next book, and it's just here's a story. There's never just a one solid book. It's like here's one book, you're gonna have 20 chapters after it. You got to keep up with it.
There are many different mangas, like comic books, you know, and I have read some of them and enjoy them very much, you know. But for me, it's very interesting to see how they are done, the kind of public they appeal, the themes, etc., you know. But I would love to have time for all that and many, many more things, you know. I studied philosophy in Granada. You know, I like to read and to think. I have been forever very interested in mythology.
Yeah.
When I was in university, I started to read Tolkien. I am a very big Tolkien fan.
Same here.
Fan of the books, right? That is a different.
It is, and I do love the books, but I do enjoy the movies.
I have read the whole and publish, you know,
Yeah.
series, you know, it's very, it's like a revelation for me, you know. And then I have, after I quit comics, American comic books, I started to get more into literature, classics, adventure stuff, mostly thanks to Alan Moore and his League of Extraordinary Gentlemen work, you
Yeah.
know. That's what led me to, and it's a big revelation, really, you know, because all those authors share something, you know, so like where the inspiration comes from, you know what Alan Moore said about the immateria, the place where all the ideas live. And I'm very, very interested in that, not only in the creative side of that, no, but in the deep meaning of all that. I'm not a magician, I don't wear rings, you know, but I was actually studying esoterics and hermetics before Alan Moore declared himself a magician. So I am proud of that. But people here in Spain say that I resemble more Grant Morrison for my bald head.
So let me ask you this. So you grew up reading comics, which is great because I think everyone does. Right now, you're not reading many mainstream comics. We'll talk about that a little later. I want to talk about the Big Bang stuff right now. And I don't know if you're frozen. I can't tell.
Hello.
Yeah, I can see. You can hear me absolutely, but you're
frozen. Yeah. Sorry.
No. It's the internet connection. It happens on both ends here.
Yeah. Should be mine.
So let me ask you this. So before we get into your why you're not reading the mainstream, we'll talk about that towards the end. How'd you get together with Big Bang Comics?
Well, let me go a little back. You know, after doing the fanzine and all that, when all those people, my generation of creators, people like Jesus Merino, which I met in Granada. He did Justice Society run, if you remember, and he's now working for DC. And I started pitching project. I wanted to write superheroes and to fix every continuity detail that bothers me. You know? And we finally, after I was in London, ended doing a book for a Spanish publisher. That was really a Justice Society pastiche done with public domain superheroes, finely disguised. You know?
No, that's great.
And this was done with Carlos Rodriguez, who also worked for Marvel and DC some years back, and now he's working for independent comics. It was like the Justice Society origin done mixed with like Indiana Jones.
Let's give it a moment. You're cutting out again.
That I love.
I'm sorry, Pedro. You cut out again. Can you repeat what you said?
I said that book was the Justice Society origin, golden age era supergroup, done with some Indiana Jones and pulp adventure mix in the and also Arthurian lore and mythology, you know, magician gods.
You're just talking all about the stuff I love and eat up like crazy. I am a big big supporter of public domain characters. I am a big supporter of mythology. Unlike I know you said you studied it more in school. I studied it just for fun. I spent years, and this is a true story. I wrote a short story in high school, and I loved the idea so much. I took it on to college with me and turned it into a script for my screenwriting class I took. And then I never did anything with the script. I said, let me turn it into a comic script, and it turned into, and I've never drawn it to this day, but I outlined 6 like would be graphic novels, if you will, about 100, 150 pages. Outlined 6 stories, all connecting. Everything deals with mythology, public domain character, everything. Like,
Wow.
but it's it's a magic story. And I wrote the first issue, which was about 120 pages, maybe a little more. And after I wrote it, I said, I don't want to draw this now.
You are my kind of writer, you know. I get all this travel with Gary Carson that has the amazing capacity to do a very fun 8-page story, you know, and I'm unable of that, you know. Being a son of Crisis of Infinite Earths and all those events, I think my stories in dozens of books, you know, and it's being a very good creative exercise to mix every panel of the work I'm doing now, so we get the plot through, you know, to the final conclusion in the space that I can have the artist, you know, working for me. You know?
So I'm sorry.
I did those comics in Spain, and then through those comics and with Carlos Rodriguez too, and I did these 2 Femforce issues. You know, this was the first one. The Femforce story. Well, it was a very complicated, very bad one, because it meets Femforce with Golden Age public domain heroes, with a Justice Society pastiche group, with with time travel and parallel Earth, and then we got some editorial.
Oh, you're freezing again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you froze. Can you just repeat what you were saying at the end?
The first issue is more or less okay, but the second one is really unreadable now. And Carlos Rodriguez started working with Jim Valentino, drawing the new Shadowhawk series, and he was so kind that he allowed me to create one of the prior Shadowhawks. Were 2 actually. That was the Tech Shadowhawk one, and this guy got turned into the Spanish Shadowhawk. You know, like that.
Yeah. Wow.
And after that, Carlos and me, well, I sent Círculo Justiciero to Gary, who was so kind to send me the almost full Big Bang Comics collection. And then we did Round Table of America. There has been some Round Table of America one shot before, and I think it didn't sell too much, so he might suggest that changing the title, no? And then Identity Crisis had appeared, Identity Crisis, so we call it Personality Crisis, because it had to deal with some personality psychology stuff, you know.
That's interesting. I like that. I like when stories talk about the, you know, go more into the psyche of characters and, you know, into their history that way, why they do stuff.
And I got to the.
Hold on, you're frozen again if you can hear me.
Big Bang issues.
Can you hold that up again? You froze. I'm sorry, you froze again.
That I love doing superheroes trophy rooms, you know.
Yeah.
The Round Table of America. There, I create a new enemy, and then took one from the history of Big Bang Comics, the 2 books that told the 4th history of Big Bang Comics, and develop it, and I have.
All right.
Michael, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. You froze again. Whoops, hold on.
Oh,
I didn't want that. You froze again for a little bit, but it's
those
okay.
are, those are my enemies. You know, I told
Yeah.
you before I have just but enemies here in Spain and everywhere else.
It's called Wi-Fi. That's
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that too. That too. That too. My computer has intelligence. It's like Ultron, you know.
yeah.
It's has its own life. And that was the last thing I did for the American market. You know, the artists I kept have worked with, like Jorge Santamaria. I worked with Bruno Redondo. I worked with Miguel Ángel Sepúlveda, with a dozen of artists, more or less. We were doing sample pages or everything.
Yeah.
I tried to impart them some wisdom of what I knew back then, what would be helpful to for them to break, and it was really helpful for them to break, but it wasn't it wasn't helpful for me, you know, as obviously, well, the American editors weren't interested in Spanish writers, you know, and if they were interested, they would have hired an already established writer, not me with just one book. But it took me many years to realize that. And then for a time, I tried to keep working with artists, maybe try to do an agency or art agency, but the eruption of the internet changed all the market, and now people from all the world were able to work for American comic books. So we didn't get the chance to work in almost nothing, you know, and I quit because well, there was no way to make it work. I had interviews with a lot of editors. I told once with Dan Didio when he came to Barcelona. Gladly, he didn't hire me because we wouldn't have get along creatively very well. I really respect Dan because he's such a huge fan. He's one of the very few people who had read more DC comics than me. You know? But no, like many other people, we didn't see the DC universe the same way. Yeah. But now we are missing him, you know, because he did his DC universe, and now they just do Batman.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And I bet it's not that good either. So
you know what? I'll be honest. I've said this on the air. I haven't read a mainstream book in years. Once in a while, I'll pick a couple of things up just to see what's going on. Usually DC because I'm a DC fan over a Marvel fan, but I'm not a fan of what's going on in the comics these days. I read more independent books. I see things on Kickstarter. I see things friends of mine are doing, or they introduce me to friends of theirs that are working on stuff. I'm finding a lot of fun with this stuff. And like just talking about Big Bang, and I said this to Gary and Chris, is I go on Indie Planet and just because of room and cost, I buy more of the digital books and I have them on my computer or on my iPad or phone, and I can travel with them and just read anytime. And I have a lot of fun with those books.
That being a Justice Society fan and comic book and interested in all the magazine and stuff. I many years ago I started to get in contact with Roy Thomas. You know, I collaborate with him in Alter Ego, his magazine, and some of the All-Star companion books. I did a little writing, and I was amazed. You know, like Roy had no interest in current comics anymore, you know, even if he was still writing and is writing something. But I said, how this guy can love comics so much and he's not interested in what is going on in the mid-90s and years later, I understand, you know, that superhero comics change so much not really the characters, but the way their stories are told.
Yeah.
You know, that now I am Roy Thomas. I don't have, even if I would love to, you know, but I don't have interest anymore
Yeah.
in the stories and the way they are done. And there had, I mean, I'm not going to fish the American comic book industry, you know, but there are very good reasons for that. You know, I've been writing a blog for the last 12 years, and you can see how month after month they have been, well, doing something different that it seemed that didn't really find its public, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I say. I mean, listen, I think, you know, and I don't want to harp on this because I really want to talk about Big Bang.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
You know, things change, and every decade, 5 years, whatever you want to say it is, there's things need to change. Society changes. The type of stories that we're going to be into, how we perceive humor is different. What is, you know, if you're doing something for kids, what's now available for kid stories as opposed to what's teenage, what's adult, like things like I remember back in the 80s, like in 89 when The Simpsons came out, people didn't think that show was for kids. Now I talk to kids who are in 2nd and 3rd grade who love The Simpsons, you know? But, you know, back then, if you weren't, you know, you had to be like in middle school to really appreciate The Simpsons, I think, at the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like things change, and I'm okay with that. But I don't like the way I just don't like the storytelling. I think we all finally hit an area of books that we like. Like I love Golden and Silver Age stuff. I love Bronze Age books. There's some stuff in the 90s that I like, but I started, like, as I go back and relook at the stuff in the 90s, a lot of those books weren't for me, you know? So I realized that I stopped really buying books close to the end of the 90s, and I probably haven't really collected or read a mainstream superhero book probably since right before DC did the New 52. There was only one New 52.
That's a very good point to stop, you know.
Yeah. But I will say they had one book in the New 52 that I loved, and it was canceled, and that was Etrigan and the Knights of the Demon.
The concept is not a very bad one. I actually did some sample pages back in the day with Jorge Santamaria, with a Justice Society story that happened in Camelot, and Etrigan appear and all that, you know.
Yeah, but let's move on to Big Bang.
Yeah, the current Big Bang comics.
All right, so now you've talked with Gary. Gary gave you a bunch of books to read and learn about the characters. Do you remember what your first book with them was?
My first?
Yeah, the first book you wrote for them, or the first
story? Yeah. I have wrote 3 right now. I am doing a couple more, and I have more projects. But this was the
first one.
That is Justice League pastiche, you know, with a lot of homage to the Justice League, to the Gardner Foss and Sekowsky and 70s Justice League, you know, the pre-crisis Justice League.
Yeah.
And I think I did a very good job here for being like the first real American. This is the work I was more proud of. You know. But sadly, it was the last one for many years. But then Gary started doing the Big Bang Adventures series in digital, and I was friends with him in Facebook, and I happened to see it. And I wouldn't have myself go into the project or sending him scripts or anything. But Pablo Alcalde, a friend and artist who worked with me in the Femme for issues already, and he was telling me, let's do something, let's write something for me. And I said, shut up, I'm out of comics, you know. and we are going to never do anything again. but then the you know, we were close at home for 2 years for this
Yeah.
illness, you know, the coronavirus. And well, I got bored, you know, and I think I started reading and going over a Justice Society proposal that I wrote back when I met Dandy Dio. It never got sent,
Yeah.
fortunately. And I was going out that and writing some ideas just for doing mental, you know, exercises.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, hey, why don't we do? I'm never going to do the Justice Society nor anything like that. Why don't we do something for Gary? You know, so
Yeah.
we did some designs for the supervillains and sent a proposal and he said, okay, let's do it. You are not going to get millionaire doing this. But and I did it mostly to get Pablo Alcalde to work and publish. Is the first full issue he has done, and he surprised me because not in my dream school I have hoped him to do such a good first job, you know.
And that's the one you sent me, Big Bang Adventures #8, Knights of Justice.
Yeah. Nice of Justice that was published with two double covers.
I'm just going to share it real quick because I have it open.
Sure.
Let's just take a look. I'm not going to go through the books. I want people to buy it. So share screen, but I want to just show. What's going on here?
You can show it all. They are not going to buy it. You show it.
Yeah, no. Something's going on. It's not letting me share, and I fixed. I thought I fixed this. Let me see. What is this? It says, window. Let me just try this. Oh, it's not letting me share my other screens. I don't know why. I thought I fixed this already. Yeah, that's weird. Okay, I can't share it right now.
It's all my fault and my fate.
No. I had an issue a couple of weeks ago because I bought a new computer, and I forgot to. I was on the show. This is, I think, even before Gary and Chris came on, and I forgot to adjust something so I could share the screen. But as soon as the show was over, I went and I fixed it. And now it's telling me I can't share the screen again, which is bothering me. But okay.
Don't worry, I can still show it.
Yeah. Big Bang Adventures.
Big Bang Adventures 8. There are another grade 7 issues before that. And I don't want to forget to say, well, first, I am so thankful to Gary Carson and Chris Ecker and even Ed DeGeorge, that owns some of the characters, for letting me play in their fantastic sandbox, you know. The very after reading the original Marvel and DC superheroes, I really got into this kind of alternative indie superheroes, pastiche, homage superheroes.
Yeah.
That were very big in the 90s, and every single important great writer has done superhero pastiche, you know. Some people may think, no, they are just like copies of this or that. Yeah, they are copies, but there are very well done copies and very bad copies, you know. And
I just want to say, and when I look down, I'm actually looking at the comic on another monitor, so I'm not. I just don't want you to think I'm ignoring it. And I'm looking at this, and I did it. First of all, I didn't realize that was a wraparound cover. I should have realized that. It's, you know, it's like you got the more, you know, you got a real nice golden / silver age feel, and Pablo, amazing artist here. I'm loving what I'm seeing by what he did here. And I gotta say, just because I'm a Green Lantern fan, I really love the Beacon. He's just, I love the design on him. I love everything about him. He just screams Alan Scott Green Lantern. And I mean, I know it's not, you're not like I said, you're not ripping him off or anything, like you said, but it's just such fun to see how some of these characters relate to where they were inspired from,
Yeah, well, actually, almost all of them in this case has been created by Gary and Chris.
Yeah.
I did the supervillains that they are homage characters to some villains out there.
Yeah.
And but sadly, well, we are getting incredible reviews, like 7, 8 great reviews. Thank you so much to all my reviewers and now friends, most of them, And but very rarely the fan, the reader goes and find the homage or the the detail that I hide here and there. Maybe you haven't realized it, but if you're a fan of Alan Scott, I will go again about the scene where they met Saturn in Hades, and what he said, what the beacon says. You may.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I don't remember what.
When they are they had to go to Hades, to the realm of Pluto, to rescue Venus, who had been kidnapped there, because he needs a new wife, and then there is a scene where they fight Saturn, the Titan, who is caged there, and there is something that the beacon says that is a homage to Alan Scott directly.
I'm gonna have to look. I think I'm at the spot just scrolling through the book.
But there are things like that in every single panel, really, and in the last week with the story even more.
So, but no, this is. I really wish I could show this because the art is gorgeous, but the script is great. The words are great.
Some of the very best pages. Well, we have the billions here.
Let me give you the screen. Hold on.
Attacking
wrong.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
The Alliance of Evil, And some of those characters you may find familiar, and we have here the Knights of Justice, that are the Golden Age heroes of Earth B, the parallel world. When Gary and Chris did Criss Crisis back in the original Big Bang series, the alternative worlds were forbidden like for 15 years in DC Comics. You know how big the multiverse is right now. They were not doing alternative worlds.
You froze again.
Big Bang stories were instrumental to turn the tide and to bring back all that Silver Age and Golden Age sense of wonder, And even if people like Alan Moore with Supreme or Kurt Busiek with Astro City and many other creators are more famous now, but Gary and Chris did it first, Before Alex Ross was drawing Astro City covers, he was drawing Big Bang cover, and together with Brian Augustine, the DC editor who recently died, it made me realize that it was thanks to his work.
Hold on, you're frozen again.
Yeah.
One second. I'm sorry. Can you repeat yourself?
That the work of Brian Augustine, DC editor in the 90s, was instrumental to bring back the sense of wonder with Mark Waid in Flash, with Justice League, with everything he did.
Yeah.
And he brought back the alternative world with Gotham by Gaslight too. And if not for him, the readers of my generation wouldn't know how what a DC comic really is. You know, it was thanks to his work that we were led into all the old stuff that I have luckily read in the DC archives and other reprints. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was I have written. It's going to be published this week a very short essay on American comic book history, and I have very clear the points where things go wrong or right.
Yeah.
And there was this revival in the 90s with Kurt Busiek and Alan Moore and Mark Waid and James Robinson and all those people. And those were the comics that I felt were my superhero comics. No,
Yeah.
I have already stopped really liking most of Marvel or DC stuff for the
Yeah. Oh, you froze again.
age of comics.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm sorry, you froze again. Just repeat a little bit of the.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, that I was saying that Gary Carlson with Brian Augustine was instrumental in bringing back the sense of wonder in the 90s in all those comics.
I agree. And I you heard me tell the story when they were on how I discovered them. And I don't like to use the word discover because it sounds like I made them popular. Like I discovered them. I found their books at a comic shop, and there was only one bookstore in my area that sold their books. And then when the woman who ran the store gave away an ending after I bought a book to a big storyline, I stopped going. It took me a while to find their books, but I always loved it. It went back to what I loved as a kid in comics. And that's what they were doing with Big Bang. So I found them to be great. So much that I didn't even say this on the show, but if Gary or Chris, you guys are watching and you want a pin-up or something for your book, just ask, man. I'm thrilled. I don't have time to do sequentials, but I can totally do a pin-up. I would be so thrilled to do one for of your characters. I love them so much. Now I want to talk about the other book you sent me. We're not going to go on too much longer. But tonight, yes, the WHIZ Kids.
I told too much.
Yeah, no, no. Listen, it's not that. Before we went on the air, I told you I have an early morning tomorrow. But and I tell that to all my guests because it's true, and then I just end up talking for an hour and a half with them or longer. So I want to try to keep it down. But this book, it's Big Bang Adventures, which I love. This is one of my favorite titles that you guys do, because in Big Bang Adventures, and let me give you the screen here. What one of the things I love about Big Bang Adventures is that every issue kind of has a different look to it. It's not all the same type of comics, same type of stories. Sometimes they're different. What I liked about this issue in particular is that it felt very like the end of the Teen Titans, beginning of the new Teen Titans, the Perez and Wolfman coming on and changing. It's like can I don't know if it's giving away the story if I tell what happened with Kid Galahad. Can I say that?
No, you can say everything.
So
they should have wrote it already. So
yeah.
So if there are spoilers, fuck them.
So basically, Kid Galahad's the sidekick of the Night Watchman. Okay. And in here, it's that idea where like Robin's the sidekick of Batman. So just so you guys at home can get an idea if you've never read these books. And he moves on from being Kid Galahad to just being Galahad, being his own hero now. And it totally had that, like, because honestly, Nightwing is one of my all-time favorite characters. Dick Grayson is to me like almost like the epitome of what a good guy is, you know, at least classic Dick Grayson. And when he left Batman and he left the mantle of Robin to become Nightwing, I like that story. Just I kind of connected with it, you know. And this, I felt a lot of that same feeling reading it, even though, you know, I'm familiar with the Big Bang comics. I know who Kid Galahad is in the comics. But in all honesty, obviously, I know Dick Grayson a lot more. I read more Dick Grayson stories growing up. So, like, I had that feeling kind of like reading when he became Nightwing. The same thing here. It just had that nice, almost like Marv Wolfman type of writing behind it, you know?
Wow.
So for me,
I'm really proud and thankful to Jorge Santamaria, who I got finally to work with in a comic book 25 years later, and has done the work of his life, and he's doing it because it's a 3-part story, you know, a very ambitious one, a heartfelt homage to Mark Goldman and George Perez. That, well, I can't choose a single series, but that one too, what has always been one of my favorites, and it's also one of the very best superhero comic book runs that had everything in that one, and it also have that reality, that feeling that they were real people that had real problems, that had their family. Very much of that was lost forever in American comic books, you know. And I wanted to do all that, and on top of that, solve some of the plot lines or developments of the WHIZ Kids that were already created by Chris and Gary, and also Ed De George, who did a one-shot doing some of an 80s version. And I took some of those characters, but I had to create some more because I didn't feel a connection to the ones he did, you know. And they are obviously a Teen Titan pastiche, also based on what Alan Moore did. You know, it was incredible to see Alan Moore do the DC universe in Supreme and.
Oh, you froze, man.
Then he did ABC Comics.
Hold on. I'm sorry, you froze again. It was a long one this time.
No,
I'm sorry.
I was saying that apart from that glorious big universe that is Big Bang Comics with all those homage details, development, characters that are pastiche character, but a good pastiche character it has something of the original and something different that the original doesn't have, you know. That's a pastiche well known. And I am very influenced too by the work that Alan Moore did in Supreme and Youngblood and Glory, the Hampton Universe, you know, the Judgment Day book I love. It's my way to doing pastiche, to develop those universe in a way that the reader can recognize and at the same time enjoy at something different. And this very big WHIZ Kid adventure has, I think, both things: the Big Bang universe and a very personal, complicated story. The very best thing I think I have written.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. Hold on, let me just see, something just popped up. Okay, sorry. So before we end, I want to talk about you being their social media manager. How'd that come to be? What do you do for them as their social media manager?
Well, they happen to have already the Facebook page and the Twitter page. The Instagram one I create myself, but they weren't using them, you know. And when I did the comics, I said, okay, if I do the comic, let me at least promoted from your page, and not only my work, but mostly the Big Bang Adventures series and the old stuff too. Most of the issues can be brought through the website, and because I, write them or not, I love Big Bang comics and I love its universe, and Gary Carson is an excellent editor, very easily to work with. Sometimes he gets, I don't want you to change that. We get in a big argument, but gladly until today we are friends. And 99 of what I write is in the book. That is very, that wouldn't have happened if I had worked with DC Comics or Marvel or something. And well, I'm trying to get Big Bang comics there, not just for these incredible books that I have done with Pablo and Jorge, and the ones I'm going to do with another artist that have helped us doing some of the pinups in those books. There are a big pinup gallery on each of them, and I don't know. I'm doing this. I'm enjoying it. I'm working with my friends after many years. I'm doing what the reviewers say are very good stories or fun ones or whatever.
Listen, I'll say I've read everything you've sent me, and I've enjoyed everything you've sent. So, well, you're doing great stories.
Yeah, but I mean, I know that it's nothing in the American industry, but I would like people to enjoy Big Bang comics as much as I do. And it's a book that all Marvel, DC, or whatever fans can really enjoy if you find them. If you like Astro City, if you like Supreme, if you like what Mark Millar or Warren Ellis does, this book is for you.
No, that's great. And listen, your stuff is fantastic. The Big Bang books are great. I haven't read a story that I haven't liked. So in all the years I've been reading Big Bang stuff, so I think I think they're amazing. I think I want to see their books more in people's hands. I want to see them in stores more. That's the type of stuff. But until then, you can get them on Indie Planet. You can go to bigbangcomics.com and get them on there.
Very, very, very cheap digital copies and also cheap, very well printed copies.
Well, I will say I do own some of the printed stuff and I love it. The quality is really great. I only buy digital these days because of the room. I have my art studio, and this is the only place I can store.
Don't tell me. All my comic collection is in an old house that is going to go down any day.
Yeah, and that's my only reason. I do that with a lot of books these days. Even with Kickstarters, a very few that I fund do I get the actual books for because I don't have a place for them. It's if I'm really like, oh my God, I need to have a copy of that book because it's binded a certain way, or it's different than what I've normally seen in comics. It's that way. But yeah, I buy a lot of digital books these days, and I love them because I can just carry them all, on my phone here and be like, I'm going to sit on the train, or I'm going to, sit on my lunch hour, and I'll get to read a comic. And that's how I do this stuff now. Is I get everything.
That's the way of things. We are not going to go back, but the point is that I'm trying to get some of the old fans that don't read those superhero comic books anymore to find this, and maybe they will enjoy it as much as I do.
It's like they say on the website for Big Bang Comics, when heroes were heroes and comics were fun. It was one of my favorite lines on their website. I'll never forget that. Because I just think comics in general should be fun. They're an escapism, and you should be able to escape and enjoy where you go to. We
don't have time to talk about what they are doing now, or some of the samples. Everybody knows, really. But the superheroes are incredibly popular in the movies and everywhere, but the comic books sadly are not in the very best moment,
Yeah.
and any renaissance that they may have, like it happened in the 90s,
Yeah.
it should come from independent superhero books, So
it's funny you bring up the movies, because I don't remember if I was talking with Gary about this or another person on one of my shows, but and I don't know how it was for you guys in Spain growing up, but here in America, even before I was born, the comic strips in the newspaper, even before books, were the thing. The cartoonists were celebrities, Chester Gould, who did Dick Tracy, all those people, Lee Falk, who did the Phantom and Mandrake, um, Alex Raymond and Milt Caniff and all those guys, Hal Foster. These guys were like the superheroes of the industry, and they were pulling their stories, to make movie serials at the time, like the Phantom and Captain Marvel and Dick Tracy and Blondie and all these things. They came from the newspapers for the most part. And now, and then it seemed like that disappeared for a while, and movies weren't being based on comics until, the Chris Reeves Superman, people started making superhero movies again, but it was so spread out. Now you have a superhero movie almost every week. It seems a superhero movie's coming out these days, and they're being made through the comic books, which I think is great, because there's potential out there. But we're only seeing the big guys right now.
That when the Marvel Comics Submariner came out, they gave it away, that book, at the at the cinema. People who went to the movies, and they should really do something like that, because. But we are so lucky that the stories that now everybody is getting up in the cinema and clapping, we enjoyed that 20 years or 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. It was funny. Today I was talking with a kid. I was at a school, and I was talking with some kids today, and they said, where do I find my favorite Batman? Like, who's my favorite Batman? I said, the ones that are drawn in the comics. And they asked, they like, what do you mean? Like, they talked to me about the movies. They're like, well, what about this movie? And I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. I watch them, but I'm not a fan of them. I said, my Batman is in the comics. He was made in the 70s, and he was in the 80s, and the only thing that I accept in
the comics, but not in those 3 comics that everybody talks about. But in the other 1,000 comics.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing. It's like a lot of people, a superhero movie comes out, and a lot of people are like, oh, that was great, but as a superhero fan, sometimes they're not so good, and I prefer them in to go into my boxes and pull out a comic and read that story of whatever hero. I think they're more fun that way.
In my case, the animated Batman and the whole DC animated universe is the very best it has been done until some of the Marvel movies came.
Yeah, I agree.
Very much.
DC's that started in the 90s with Batman the Animated Series. That style of animation, those stories, are the best interpretation of DC Comics on the screen, on any screen. Batman Mask of the Phantasm might be one of the best Batman movies ever made. It doesn't get enough love because it's a cartoon as opposed to Michael Keaton or whatever. And
there are these guys nowadays that think that people are more adult or complicated because they are dark and tormented. That's shit,
No. But
fortunately, here at Big Band Comics, like things to be fun.
That's what I love.
My Batman is the Alan Davis and Mike W. Barr Batman that smiles and makes jokes.
Yeah. Exactly, man. I mean, listen, I think we're on the same page with a lot of stuff here. But I'm gonna have to wrap up in a moment.
Yeah.
Just
We'll do a second part.
Oh yeah, listen, dude, you are so welcome back. I'm having a lot of fun chatting with you.
Thank you.
It's just one of those days where I have a really early morning tomorrow, and I don't want to stay on
here in Spain at 2 early too.
What? Well, yeah, actually, yeah, the time difference where you are, it's like what, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. over by you?
Yeah, well, it might be 2 a.m.
Wow.
That's 2 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, it's only after, it's not even 10 o'clock for me, and I'm ready to pass out.
It's been really a pleasure, and for a writer, if I don't get any feedback from my stories, it's like I haven't wrote them, you know. Yeah. And if I can do anything else to help Big Bang Comics, you know, get more readers, I happily stay all night on talking another day.
All right, man. I want to thank you for coming. I'm gonna drop you backstage if you could just hang out for a few minutes.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Awesome. Thanks again for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. So I had a lot of fun tonight, as always. I mean, this show is my weekly break from my daily life, and I just have nothing but fun talking to these guys. And Pedro is no different. He's just really good guy, tells great stories. If you haven't had a chance to read Big Bang comics, get any of them. They're great. But pick up Pedro's stuff. The Big Bang Adventures, what was it? I think number 14. I'd have to look it up again. But it's called The Last WHIZ Kid Story. Oh my God, so good. Just so good. And you guys, you know, his socials on the bottom. Go to bigbangcomics.com. He runs the Instagram page, Big Bang Comics, so you can follow him there, see all the great stuff. Fantastic stuff. Next week, be back with another guest. I have Joey Sabo, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. It's either Sabo or Sabo. It's Sabo, so I want to say Sabo. But he's going to be on. I think he's bringing on one of the people he's working with on a story. I'm a huge fan of his work. You'll see it next week. You guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll be back next week with Joey, and I don't think I'm going to be doing any other live stuff until then. So, you know, follow me on YouTube, like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram at Michael Gracia. Follow me and you know, just give them all to you right now. Just right down the bottom, Michael Gracia Studios, getintoon.net. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook's at Michael Gracia. You can add my Twitch account to that. I just started posting, not Twitch, my TikTok. I just started posting some art videos on there too. So you guys, I'll see you guys next week. Have a great week. Enjoy whatever you guys do, and I'll see you soon.